everybody, welcome to Dak Band Productions and welcome to Conrail Southern, my HO layout. So as you all know by now, I started dabbling into HO last year because I like modern day trains as well. And there is a big trend out there where people love modern day trains. In other words, they want to buy what they actually see running. My modern day is from current time to 10 years ago. Some people keep it tighter within 5 years, or some people are even more strict. The modern day is modern day. What they see is what they want to get. If the railroad retires that piece of equipment, they end up selling theirs. So yeah, that gets into an expensive venture there. A lot of keeping up with the railroad. I mean, that's some dedication there. But with that in mind, I picked CSX as my modern day railroad. I tried to stick with just one railroad just for the expense part of it, because you can go crazy buying everything and then you're broke all the time. So I do keep reasonable with my budget. So in today's video, I bought Conrail number 8905. No, not the real version. I wish. So I know what you guys are saying. Conrail, that's not modern day. You don't see nothing running Conrail. Well, unless you've been living under a rock the last couple of years, the B&O Railroad Museum actually restored a Conrail EMD SW7 to running and operating condition. It is the world's very first Conrail locomotive restored to full operational condition. So when I attended the B&O Railroad Museum Diesel Day and I saw that running, I knew I had to have it. I'm like, somebody has had to make this. So I went back and started scouring the internet, and sure enough, Walthers had made the EMD SW7 and Conrail in the correct 8905 road number to match. I mean, they had made other road numbers, and I kept looking for that one road number. I hope they made it. Finally, I found it. I went to order one, and the deal fell through. They contacted me back, said, sorry, we seen it was listed on inventory, but we actually sold it. That was very, very disappointing. Luckily, I found another hobby shop who had the road number that I was looking for in the EMD SW7 Conrail locomotive. So this is a Walthers unit. It has DCC and sounds by Lock Sound or Loke Sound, however you want to pronounce it. I say Lock Sound. Some people say Loke Sound. But yeah, this layout is DCC. I'm using Digitrax and I'm loving it. I got to learn the CV codes. It's not that bad, actually. I was a little confused at first, but now I'm comfortable using it. So the other locomotive I would have loved to have an HO that was running that day was a CSX GP 15T number 1507. Athearn is the only one who makes the GP15 and both the GP15-1 and GP15-2. They have made the CSX version. However, to this point of time of this video, they have not made number 1507. Maybe someday Athearn will make that particular road number that is actually still survives today at the B&O Railroad Museum. It's also in running condition. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of the whole entire locomotive. I'll just talk about a couple key things that I'm seeing versus the one that was restored. And then we'll, we'll operate it here and watch it do some switching. But again, I'm not the type of person to go through an in-depth detail because that's not my thing. I find that kind of like boring. my thing is I like to talk about the history behind the piece. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I find that more interesting about the history. And seeing this locomotive in person and now having it is pretty exciting. So let's go. So here we have the Walthers EMD SW7 Conrail number 8905 here in front of us. Again, you can actually really see this run. It's in full operational condition. It's not on static display. It does actually move and operate and all that fun stuff. So this particular locomotive actually was originally bought by a New York subsidiary called B&O Railway in Illinois. It did start off as locomotive number 8905. So when Conrail took over failing railroads, such as New York Central, Penn Central, so forth and so on, they ended up with this locomotive. The one difference that I see between the restored version and the Walthers version, so the Walthers version has a single horn. And when you see the pictures I'm going to show you of the museum version, it's going to have a 3-chime horn on it. So I went back and I found an original picture of 8905 when Conrail had it during that time. And the original version did have a single horn. So the horn that's actually on the restored version is not the correct horn for that locomotive. It never came with that 3-chime horn. It actually came with a single horn. Conrail sold 8905 on March 3rd, 1989 to Blue Mountain and Reading. There it was operated on the Conrail coal branches in Port Clinton, Pennsylvania. It was renumbered to number 1200 in reference to its 1200 horsepower engine. At the end of 1995, it was folded into the Reading, Blue Mountain, and Northern. The Reading, Blue Mountain, and Northern retired the locomotive in 2002. B&O Railroad Museum bought the locomotive in 2004. It became a general use locomotive for pulling excursion trains and became BOMX number 1200. It was painted later that year into a unique museum railroad paint scheme. It carried thousands of fans on the oldest rail line in America. In late 2017, the B&O Railroad Museum approached the Conrail Historical Society to restore the locomotive back to its original Conrail colors. The Conrail Historical Society provided all the photos and as well as paperwork and documentation to help with this restoration. So the locomotive, again, is an EMD SW7 with a V12 1200 horsepower engine. It is a 567 series V12. For those not familiar with EMD or diesel engines at all, the 567 has a special designation. The 567 number stands for the cubic inch per cylinder of the engine. So each cylinder has 567 cubic inches. So this particular locomotive originally had a 567A diesel engine in it, or what railroads call the prime mover. However, when the B&O Railroad Museum restored the locomotive, they restored the engine to a 567AC. So the block is a 567A. The power assemblies, meaning the pistons, the liners, and all that stuff, were updated to a C series. The C series had improved cooling because the A had overheating issues, and EMD fixed that with the C series. All right, so we'll go ahead and fire this thing up, and we'll make a couple of switching moves so you guys can enjoy it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the run of the Walthers Conrail SW7 locomotive run. But now stay tuned for the real Conrail EMD SW7 restored by the B&O Railroad Museum in conjunction with the Conrail Historical Society. And this clip I'm going to play for you is from the 2024 B&O Railroad Museum Diesel Days.
Preparation for the Penn Central merger. Making all that noise. Here comes 8905.
Oh man, that sounds good.
Purchased the locomotive in 2004 as a general use engine for the museum's rail operation. It was painted later that year with some unique museum scheme emerging as B&OMX 100. It has been the museum's regular excursion tower ever since, carrying several thousands of young rail enthusiasts among the oldest rail lines in America during most of its holidays and special events. In late 2017, the B&O then approached the Conrail Historical Society to inquire about the availability of diagrams and other information as they explored returning the locomotive to its authentic Conrail colors. This inquiry involved a full-fledged joint fundraising effort to make 8905 the first restored and operational Conrail locomotive in the world. And underneath that hood, doing all that shaking and rattling, is a 12-cylinder 567 AC. When stuck on board, A is the block, C is the power assembly. So this originally came from the factory for the 567A, and subsequently had C power assemblies as well as that C water cooling system installed.
And of course, I had to have my Conrail photo moment with the world's first Conrail locomotive restored to running operation. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this whole entire video. Hope you learned something. And we'll see you at the next train show or trackside. Goodbye.